inspected by 88, sharpened by Beef, and there it is, Busse Combat, the classic cardboard sheath that comes with your knife. And whenever you have one of these, there's always a Busse knife nearby. Here it is, guys. This is Fernando doing another video for more survivalists, in this case showing you my brand new Busse Team Gemini Light Brigade, which is this beautiful knife that you see here. Just received it and showing it to you guys. Whenever you receive one of these knives, one of the Busse knives, there's always that little bit of extra expectation, because it involves, sometimes a decision in terms of what knife finish, the blade finish that you want, a selection of the handles. It takes a couple of months until they put it together and ship it your way. It falls into that semi-custom category that I talked about in a previous video of mine, because you do get those options to select from. And of course, Busse is, in my opinion, the best knife manufacturer there is these days. You may like some of their designs more or less. There's some that I honestly don't like much, some that I really like, but you really cannot argue with the quality that they put into the construction of their knives, especially the steel, which is simply, in my opinion, and the opinion of lots of other people, probably the best steel for a knife you can buy these days. Infi steel is proprietary of Busse, in case you guys aren't that familiar with the brand. So the only company that uses Infi steel, the steel used in this knife, is Busse. Now, there's no secret anymore in this modern era about the composition of the steel itself. That has been figured, and it's a steel that, in spite of slight differences, you can buy very similar steels. Now, the thing is, using that same steel, no other knife manufacturer has been able to replicate the performance of Infi steel. So the actual true secret of Busse knives would be the heat treatment that is done to these knives, besides the composition of the steel itself. So that's the kind of thing that no one has been able to replicate exactly, and nowhere near the good results that Busse gets. So it's the trade secret of the company. And of course, they're not going to be sharing it with anyone anytime soon, for very obvious reasons. I wouldn't do either. The Team Gemini Light Brigade, this is the knife that you're seeing here, has been around for a while. At first, I wasn't that crazy about it. I thought it was kind of unusual. Then I realized that the blade itself is quite classic. It's a typical Bowie blade. It's not that different from a typical K-bar knife if you look at it from this perspective. The cross piece is different, but at the same time not unlike other K-bar knives as well. So that would be the closest to the classics. The K-bar would be, it's like a K-bar on steroids, if you want to think it in that way. It had a little bit of a hype, in my opinion, because of one of the characters in the Walking Dead television series, Daryl, the guy with the crossbow. I don't watch the show myself, I just saw it a couple of times, but nothing else. And it seems that guy, Daryl, has this same knife and uses it quite frequently, so many fans of the show ended up buying this knife because of that reason. As time went by, I started realizing that, of course, the blade is, remembering it's kind of like thinking of it that way, like a K-bar on steroids. I finally decided and went for one. And honestly, I'm very happy with it. It's a beautiful knife. I don't know if you agree with me or not, but yeah, just brings you joy to own one of these. The blade is 7 3/4 of an inch. In my opinion, a great go as well. In my opinion, a great medium-sized blade length, 7 8 inches. Usually I like bigger knives, but also you have to accept that sometimes a big knife isn't an option. A smaller knife, 4 inches, 5 inches, that's much lighter. For an in-between point, this is something that I do like. For a medium-sized blade, it is pretty thick, as most Busse knives are. This is 1/4 of an inch thick, which is very, very generous in combination with the generous proportions of the blade and the excellent steel use. That's what gives the Busse knives their legendary toughness and resistance to abuse. It's, you know, like sometimes it's said as an insult that Busse knives are sharpened pry bars. I think that's a badge of honor rather than anything negative. How wide is it? It's 1 inch, 1 5/8 of an inch wide, pretty wide blade. Has this blood canal that honestly in my lifetime I only had one time in which a blade got stuck and made that suction problem, that doesn't let you extract it as easily. I think it's more of a matter of lighting it up, losing the weight, you know, making the blade lighter and still keeping that toughness of the spine. The Team Gemini Light Brigade model is one that has an I-beam profile on the inside of the tang. Right on the inside, it's hollowed halfway through so as to make it lighter. That would be the difference between the Light Brigade and the other Team Gemini knives. That makes it also a bit more blade heavy. If I find the center of mass in this blade, you know, I find it that placing my finger under the cross piece, it is quite blade heavy, falls forward, and that's a good thing, because for a medium-sized knife, it's still being a little bit blade heavy is good. It gives you that extra momentum when chopping if you ever have to use it for that function. These knives aren't exactly cheap. Busse knives are not for being exactly cheap knives, and this one costs $337. But since I had the G10 handles, that costs an extra $50. So for the basic model, if you want to have a Team Gemini Light Brigade, $337. That's going to be giving you the basic model, which still gives you an option of blade finishes. With your Team Gemini Light Brigade, you get to choose the blade finish, which in this case it's competition finish, and I'm going to be getting into that in a second. If not, it usually comes with a black epoxy textured finish. You have black, you have a jungle green, you have desert sage, muddy brown, and tanker gray, all in that epoxy coated texture finish that I have in some of my other knives. Besides that, you have as a standard, you have the black paper handles. You also have the black canvas and tan canvas micarta, which are standard. You basically choose between that finish and those handles with your $337 price. If you want to get G10 handles instead, that's again another $50. You have a black G10 like this one, which is the one that you see here. There's also one that's very cool, the pumpkin, which is black and orange. Great combination, and very, very nice for a fancier knife. I love that. In this case, you see that there's no paint in it. This is called, by Busse, it's called a competition finish. Basically what it means is that the blade is left naked. It's not painted, right? And a little thing about knife construction in general. The painting is not that much for protection of the blade, especially in a knife like this one with Infi steel, which is very good steel and is very resistant to rust. Generally, it's a matter of finish. All right, doing a polish or satin finish on the entire length of the blade is pretty pricey and time consuming. That's generally why they choose to put a textured finish, most knife manufacturers. Now, Busse being in that semi-custom category of knife, you can actually say, okay, I prefer to have no finish on the blade. Just leave it as it is, and I'm happy with that. And that's exactly what I ordered. You don't see it in their website being offered as a blade finish because it's actually a lack of the finish itself. But I like the idea of having this competition finish. I think that in spite of some of the little burrs and little things, slight imperfections, it is something that I can work on and do it my way. For example, what I did already with this knife, as soon as I got it, I put a little layer of oil on the entire blade, all over it. A little layer of oil. That oil is going to be getting into those little microscopic little holes and such, and it's going to be providing a good amount of protection. For some people have found out that when ordering competition finish, meaning the lack of finish, that they got a little bit of rust, especially because of the outer layer of the blade being less resistant than the true steel underneath. So that layer of oil is going to be penetrating into those little pores and holes and working as a protection for rust. What I'm going to be doing later is polishing the bevel, all over the bevel, polishing to a mirror finish so as to have a nice clean surface that it's easy to keep clean when using it for food and such after use. And it's also going to be reducing a lot the friction that you get from cutting, which is something that I don't like that much about the epoxy paint type of finish. Yeah, and again, beautiful knife. Really, there's not much you can complain about it. The only thing that I didn't find as great is these with a G10 handle. These edges were a little bit sharp. And maybe this shape is a bit excessive in my opinion. Some of you may or may not agree with me. This is just a little bit too excessive and feels, you know, kind of like pressing on a ball when getting hold of it. You know, just nitpicking some little details in which, in my opinion, the knife could be improved on. Having a little more subtle curvature here and not that much of a sharp edge. I actually worked that out myself, just removing those sharp edges. Didn't take that long, it's just a couple minutes, but maybe that's something that in which could be improved on. As the knife came sharpened by Beef, which I specifically asked for Beef to sharpen my knife before shipping, the knife is razor sharp. It comes with this paper of swine shaving sharpness sheath and a couple of cuts there, and yeah, and it's crazy sharp. Shave this right off your arm. Yeah. And that's the way a knife is supposed to be, right? If you don't have a knife that is sharp, that's you know, what's the point? What about sheath, which is something that I've criticized before about Busse knives. I think that a knife without a sheath is like a tool that you just cannot use. So, well, in this case, yes, you can order your Team Gemini Light Brigade unless until recently you could order it with a Spec Ops brand sheath, which is actually a pretty nice sheath. Pretty secure, has that, change modes there for a second, nice sheath. This is the manufacturer, Spec Ops brand, made in USA. Now this company has nothing to do with Busse itself, but Busse, I suppose that realizing that many people weren't that cool about not having a sheath along with their knives, they offered, you know, if you want the sheath, you're paying extra for the sheath. I think it was like 40 bucks, something like that. I don't remember exactly right now, but you can buy it anywhere else. Now, I liked it that Busse realized that sometimes you just want, you just want the complete package. You don't want to then go hunting for a sheath, which may be quite time consuming. So I think that's great from Busse to realize that we want sheaths with our knives. There's no point in having a knife with no sheath. Construction of this, I think this is the Masters. Yeah, here it is. Let's take a look at the sheath. It's Spec Ops Combat Master Utility Sheath Knife. Well, yeah, the construction is very good all around. Made in USA. You have you know, all the MOLLE attachment, and you have an extra pocket here, which I'm sure fits a pistol Glock 9mm pistol magazine there, or a small survival kit, or a little sharpening stone. You have that pocket there, and can go into your belt, your your webbing, whatever. Again, very happy about Busse realizing that a sheath is part of the knife. Maybe even better would be someday having specific sheaths made by themselves, or having someone make them nice Kydex sheaths. That would be maybe even better. But so far, this is a great alternative. So guys, that's basically my review of the Busse Team Gemini Light Brigade. Loving the knife, liking it a lot. And not really much to complain about. It's if you're looking for a knife in this range, then you know this is one of your best options. I do reviews of all sorts of knives. You know, guys, I recently reviewed a Timbuk Mora knife. I think it was the 840 clipper model, and I do reviews of this stuff as well. A $337 knife, which lots of people would consider quite expensive. Honestly, seeing some of the $100 knives in the market that, in my opinion, aren't worth $100 or $150, you know, the price of some knives that are seem to be brand name knives, and in my opinion, buying a 1095 steel knife that costs $150 made by someone you barely know, you know, that's not nearly as much of a deal as buying a $337 knife made by Busse. The thing is, your no one brand knife is, you know, it does not have the reputation. I'm sure it does not have the construction and the materials used in one of these knives. And this knife has a great resale value, even being used. If you just buy one of these knives today, guys, and you stick it in a safe, and then you try selling it a few months later, you're gonna be making money. You're gonna be, if you keep it brand new with the cardboard sheath, you're gonna be selling it for more than it was before, once Busse is no longer offering it in their website. Even if you use this knife, even if I use this knife quite a bit, without doing anything insane, trying to destroy it on purpose, just giving it good, honest use, I'm gonna be able to resell this knife for almost as much as I got it for, once it's no longer offered in the Busse website. So expensive? Yes, it is. $337, quite a bit of money, especially if you add 50 more bucks for the G10 handles, and you have to buy the sheath separate as well. But it's, again, top of the line, best of the best kind of thing. And sometimes you just want that. Sometimes having a $5 knife, which I'm gonna, this is a knife that I'm gonna be reviewing later, Hultaford knife. Nothing wrong with this knife. It's great. It does its work well. Even comes with a sheath that I didn't have to buy apart. Look how nice that is. But it's two different things. It's like comparing a Ferrari with a Prius. You know, the kind of comparison between a Busse knife and some of the cheaper ones that are out there. Will something like this do 90% of the things any average person will be doing? Yes. The Timbuk knife is going to be doing many of the things the average guy will be doing. This covers maybe a little bit more. It goes into that pry bar category, or, you know, crazy abuse kind of tool. The kind of abuse a cheaper blade will not be able to keep up with. But it's up to you to decide what it is that you want. And these reviews I do, I was talking with a guy in ar15.com forum, and talking about, I was showing a few pictures of the knife and such, and yeah, I was saying that I don't really need another knife, but it's still nice to have them. And these are all reviews that are put out there for you guys to make your own calls. You get more information and you make your own decisions. Maybe for you it's just a tool, and maybe you want to buy an excellent tool such as this one, or maybe you're just happy with a cheaper one, or something in between like I've also shown before. So that's basically it, guys. Very happy with my Team Gemini Light Brigade, and if you're thinking about it, just go for it. It's a good knife. Guys, that's all for now. Remember to subscribe if you're liking these videos. Take care, have a great day, and see you on our next video.